Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Built to Sell Conversations with Phil Doublet. My name is James Miller. I'll be your host. We're doing a short sequence here, and I'm just going to enjoy hearing Phil talk about his major passion of helping businesses to exit with high value, and he's really good at it. So today we're going to talk about an article that McKinsey published um, a few months back. It's recent, about a $5 trillion wave, and why timing your exit has never mattered more. So, with that, I'm going to bring Phil on so we can start that conversation going. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
Hey, Jim. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing great. Awesome. Um, so, tell me about this trillion with a
Trillion with
T.
a T, yes.
That's a lot of shamolis. What is that about?
It is. McKinsey came out with a report February this year, and that was their lead in the $5 trillion problem. Um, there's a massive wave of exits building, and unless you're
So
ready
tell
for it,
me, what is an exit? Tell
I'm
me,
sorry.
for those who are listening here that aren't really savvy about what that means.
So, according to McKinsey, 6 million small and medium sized businesses will face ownership transitions by 2035. So,
So
by
where
exit,
is
I
that?
mean
In the United
transition.
States or the world, or
This is US. It's all
seems
US
like a
numbers.
lot.
It is. It gets scarier. So, when I say exit, I mean business transition, generally referred to as a sale. Um, so that 6 million businesses.
Here on this subject, but Phil, there he is. Welcome back. So tell me about is that, what geography is that?
It's
Six
the
million businesses,
These are all US
US based. Wow, just the US, six
Yep.
million businesses.
Representing $5 trillion of enterprise value.
Okay.
So when I say exit, I mean a ownership change of some type. Generally, it's a
Okay.
sale, but that's
All
what
right. So
it means.
when you say exit, it means, like, to me, as a, you know, I know what that means because I've been through a couple of them. So, and I know they can be life changing for people.
Absolutely, particularly for older business owners, because most business owners have the majority of their net worth tied up in their business. So
Mhm.
if they have retirement plans and they'd like to take some chips off the table and sell all or part of their business, the chances of doing it are very, very poor. And most business owners are completely unaware of this. And so they're heading for a wall at a high speed.
So
So,
you're helping them to kind of navigate that.
well, I feel I'm a bit of an evangelist because I'm just letting people know. Um, More than half of all small business owners are now over 55, and one in four, 65 or older. This is again in the US. So that wave of people wanting to transition is happening in the next few years. The scary part about that is that McKinsey estimates 92% of business exits end in closure. Only
So what
5%
is what is closure? Does that mean that
close the doors and
the
board
owner
up.
gets the money and he walks away with
No,
a
no,
with a
closure means
fishing the
they
property on the lake?
close the business, board up the door, and say goodbye. Right?
Oh wow. So that's a sad story.
A very sad story, scary story. Right? Um, Only 5% result in sales, and only 3% or so transfer to new owners. So McKinsey estimates that 6 to 13% of these closures could have been avoided with proper planning. There we
Okay.
are.
So of 6 million, and you said 2% actually
Five
have
percent
a successful exit?
5% will result in sales, and 3% transfer to a new owner. So about 8%. So 92% will close the doors instead of transitioning, which is
So how many is that of the 6 million? My math is
uh,
like
5.6. I don't know, 5.8.
it's a lot. It's like, that's insane. So
It is.
those businesses will just fade away.
Yep. So that value goes away. The owner's retirement dreams go poof. Employees are laid off. Customers have nowhere to go. It's an upcoming crisis. Now, the number I've traditionally been using, which is according to the Exit Planning Institute, is about 75% will fail to sell. This is a new scary level of statistic, but whether it's 75 or 92, the point is that if you're an older business owner, you better pay attention. It's coming.
It's
So,
yeah. Well, it sounds like it's not only coming; it's here.
well, that's a great point. According to the same report, 27% of owners aged 55 and older are either unsure of their exit plan or intend to close permanently. That's just sad. Fewer than 1 in 3 business owners have a documented exit plan. It's like, you know, does everyone agree you should have a will? Yep. Does everyone have one? Nope. And it's foolish. It's foolish. That's all I can say that. So,
Yeah.
in smaller businesses, of course, there's more smaller businesses. 80% of exits will occur among businesses valued under $2 million. And they're below the radar for institutional buyers and most statistics. But that's where the wealth lies for US businesses.
Wow. So help me understand this. Because I would think with those kind of statistics and with a company like McKinsey, who's been around forever and they're very well recognized in the industry that they serve, why are the numbers so skewed towards closure instead of a successful exit?
Well, there's a few reasons. So, if the business is not prepared, or they haven't gone through the exercise and effort of setting their business up to be attractive to an acquirer, they're not. And the number
Right.
one problem I see is that the business is the owner and the owner is the business. Everything goes through the owner touches everything, approves everything, knows all the people. Is probably working way, way too many hours every week. And if you visualize that situation from a buyer's perspective, you pull the owner out of there, there's nothing left, there's nothing to sell. So one of the main things I do with my clients is set up a situation where they're not central to the business. The business is independent of them. Doesn't mean they don't work there or enjoy it or important. It just means that not everything is dependent on them.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I want to. I mean, you and I could get technical. We could get into the nitty gritty on it. We could get into EBITDA, and we could get into ratios of repeat customers, and
Yep.
we could get into all kinds of numbers and details. And we're going to be doing additional. Um, I think we're going to do at least 3 more of these episodes, and I think it would be fun
Sure.
maybe on the next one to go into some details on how these deals are structured and what you bring to the table that's different from like a somebody, because like venture capitalists have a reputation of being pretty tough, right?
Yep.
But someone like you could come in and actually make that whole process a lot easier because you've got the experience and you stay with the owner all the way through to the end, right?
Yes, well, and by having the business properly prepared, you're just in a stronger position to discuss it with a potential acquirer. And there's really only 5 key steps for preparation. So when I say preparation, what do I mean? I mean building a business that works without the owner central. We already talked about that.
Right.
Clean financials that a buyer can trust. That's a big one.
Uh,
Systems and processes that can be transferred. Makes sense. A clear understanding of what drives the value. What do you actually do that drives value in the business? And finally, a realistic time frame and a plan to get ready. Have those things in place, and you'll be in great shape to have a conversation about it with an acquirer.
Okay. And then how are the acquirers acquired? How do you find people to buy your business?
So that's where my process stops. I'm not a business broker. I'm not going to list the business. I'm not going to sell it. But that is the job of a business broker, M&A specialist, investment banker, depending on the size of the business. But there's lots of excellent business brokers, and I typically introduce my clients to a few of them, and they can pick the ones they want. Um, that doesn't mean that I stop working with the client at that point. It just we bring in another professional to take it to the next step. That's what we do.
Okay. And it looks like the next step is actually if a business owner's looking for some information about this, what can they do? I put up your link there to your
Yeah,
diagnostic,
so
right?
for a limited time, I'm offering a assessment of the business for free, $0. And by going to exit.phildublé.com, you can sign up for that free assessment. What you get is a short report, 7 pages. It describes how your business ranks across what we call 8 different drivers of the business. Um, it shows what the value of your business is today based on how you ranked on those drivers. And most interesting for a lot of people is it'll show what your business could be worth tomorrow if you improve your score on those drivers. And it's off usually 6 figures, sometimes 7 figures. So it's quite illuminating for your business.
6 figures or 7 figures difference
Yeah. So this
between in valuation improvement.
Yeah, this process has been validated across now 80,000 transactions over the last 14 years, and the
Mhm.
average increase in valuation is 71%. So your $1 million business just became a $1.7 million business. Not bad.
Wow, that's a lot.
It
Tell
is.
me about what the hidden factors are. What is when people get into this process? What are they not going to have? What do people kind of hold close to the chest until you get into it? Can you share some of those secrets? It's just you and me here.
There's lots of things. Often family dynamics enter into it. "Ah, I kind of promised this to my oldest son, but I've never told anybody. Um, or now my kids are going to buy this from him, but we've never had that conversation. Things like that happen all the time. Um, they're not ready with if case a health crisis happens. A little known statistic is that about 40% of business exits are involuntary: death, disease, divorce. Um, if you have a plan in place, that any of those is a very sad event. If you don't have a plan in place, it could be a catastrophe, right?
Yeah. So tell me a success story. Tell me a story of someone that was kind of on the fence, if you have one, where you were able to help them, and what it would have looked like if they hadn't have worked with you.
Uh, I always do these things, so I'm kind of being circumspect about the identity of the businesses. But I had a manufacturing business, and they were doing about just under $5 million. The owner was working far too many hours, was involved in everything. This was kind of a theme. Um,
Mhm.
so the owner knew all the customers by name, knew all the suppliers, had those relationships, and if there was a problem, they went right to the owner every time, no matter if it was 7 o'clock at night, right? And the owner allowed this behavior to continue. So I came in and we said, okay, let's do an experiment. Let's enable and empower the team because he actually had a bit of a team in place. And instead of you jumping in with both feet when there's a problem, you say, "Hey Jim, this is for you. Let me know if you have any trouble, but I want you to take a shot at it." And basically started giving them more rope so they can handle it. And so he went from it took about a year, fits and starts. But he went from working 60 hours a week to working 30 hours a week and actually got his life back and he reintroduced himself to his family and took a vacation for the first time in 8 years, things like that. So that's very, very possible.
Well, that's a great story. So what was the shift that he had to make in his approach and his the way he kind of
Well,
looked at his business and his position?
in one word, trust. He had to trust his team. And I've heard it a million times. Oh, I can do this quicker and faster myself. Why would why would I delegate this? I say, well, if you want to work 60 hours a week till you drop dead, that's a great strategy. If not, you need to train somebody else. You need to delegate. You need to trust your team that they can do the work. And often as not, truth be told, they can do the work better than you can.
Right? Yeah, in the end. And it's that and the valuation. difference between an owner operator that's 60% plus in the business versus 30% is pretty significant, I imagine, for a
Well,
buyer. I mean, if you're a buyer looking at a company, like you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation here, if the owner is a fully ensconced in the business and you pull him out after you buy the company, he's the business is basically worthless. So you got to pull him out during this exit prep process.
yeah, I mean, the business
And
at the end, one end of the scale, business is unsaleable because the owner is everything. But
yeah,
realistically, what happens is you get major discounts if the owner is involved in too much of it. And a lot of owners forget the difference between a profitable business and a valuable business. So a business can be
what's the
super profitable.
difference?
Well, a business can be super profitable, making lots of money. That's great, but the owner has to be there every single day, or it doesn't, or it all stops. That's profitable but not valuable because no one will pay money for that business like that. If you can keep the profit and move the owner so they're not independent, so they're not in there every day with every transaction, now you've got a valuable business.
Okay. Yeah, that's a huge difference. And it's like you have to look at it in a different perspective,
Yep.
from a different set of eyes as the owner. And if you've been, you know, putting all of your life energy into a business as you pretty much have to make it successful, and all of a sudden you're going to sell it, it's like, how does that feel to the buyer or to the
Well,
seller when somebody comes in and starts, scrutinizing everything and trying to find something wrong so they can devalue it?
my baby is ugly. It's, it's
Right?
it's a very
It's like
good.
getting smacked upside the head.
Well, a lot of people are very much focused on the transaction. What do you have to do to sell that business and get that check in my hand?
Right.
One thing I look at a lot is what happens after you sell a business. And the reason is that a lot of people define themselves, their identity, by their business. I own a
Hmm.
plumbing business. I own a chiropractic clinic. And then if you sell it, what are you? Well, I'm just a guy that used to own something. So it's very important that you create that identity and create the post transaction plan for yourself. Um, and that feeds back to some of the fear that a lot of business owners have and say, if I sell this, I don't have anything left. Now that may be an unspoken fear, but it's there.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine that during that process, if you've got a business, like how big a business would it have to be for it to be like, um, where a buyer would bring in an external team to review your books and kind of do their due diligence? What does that process look like?
So you mean during the sales process?
Yeah.
Yeah, due diligence is often a pretty scary experience for a business owner that hasn't been through it before, um, because the buyer prudently should come in with a CPA and go through the financials with a fine tooth comb, 3 years of financials ideally. They'll come in with a lawyer to make sure that contracts are in place. They should come through with a business analyst. I do this on the buy side and ask hard questions about. Well, let's talk about customer concentration. Are all your eggs in one basket or two baskets? What are you actually selling? What is the value proposition you bring to the table? What's the competitive landscape? All of these things, and ultimately to derive what the true value of the business is, so that hopefully you can make an offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The owner having to answer all those questions, and typically business owners, business founders have been very private about things. So for them to have to open the kimono and have their baby called ugly is is a different experience for them.
Yeah. How does that work for them? I mean, do they tend to look at it saying, "Well, I'm going through all of this um, because I have a dream to retire or to do whatever with whatever money's left over"?
Well, the rationale is they're getting older, maybe tired. They do want to take some chips off the table because they want to travel or put their grandchildren through college or what have you. Um, if they've worked with me and gone through my program, they'll be able to answer all these questions without any stress at all. Their financials will be in order, their processes and procedures, their customers are lined up. So the stress of due diligence will be sharply reduced. And probably more successful.
Yeah. So that's the real value you bring to the table for this,
I believe
I
so.
think. Yeah. Um, so let's dive into your we have your diagnostic here. I want to see if I can pull this up. Oh, wrong one. Let's see.
Yeah, that's the link, the exit.phildoublet.com. So if that on that box, will take me to basically just give up their name, company, and phone number, and take it to the assessment.
There we go. So we've got the assessment up. What would a strategic buyer actually pay for your business? That's a great question.
It is the
And you
question.
say most owners are off by 500,000 to 5 million. That's significant.
Yep.
So your value builder assessment, that's what this is. You get a free assessment, shows exactly where you stand in 13 minutes. No cost, no obligation, benchmarked against 80,000 plus real transactions. Wow. So pretty good, pretty good percentages there that they take this assessment. They're going to have a much better idea, more clarity on what they look for in an exit and what they could benefit, how they could benefit by number one, exiting, and number two, using Value Builder, your program.
Yeah, it solves a couple of problems. So first of all, it gives them an idea of what their business worth. Most owners don't have a clue, or they wildly overvalue it. It shows what the state of their business is right now against those 8 different drivers, and it also shows them where their business stands against the industry average for each of those 8 drivers. Then the final chart that I talk about is that it shows what the value of the business could be worth if they improve all those drivers to what we call best in class.
Okay. So this is the what we want to do is send you to get this assessment. So if you're interested in getting the assessment that we're looking at right now, this is where you go. It's exit.fieldofblay.com.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. And all you got to do is hit that get my value builder score free, click that button down there in the middle, and you'll be off and running. And it takes what, 13 minutes?
Well, if you're organized, and it takes 13 to 15 minutes, sometimes a little longer if you have to hunt down your financials, but it's in that it's not onerous at all. Is the whole point.
Okay. All right, cool. And then you just fill in some simple information so that you guys could chat.
Very
Oh, and
simple.
here's that McKinsey Institute report.
Yep.
92% of small business owners exit end in closure, not a sale. Wow. That's sad, man. I just I can wrapping my head around that. It's like, no way, because somebody works 30, 40, sometimes 40 years in a business. They put their whole heart and soul into it, and they've used, they've been able to have a life with it, and then it just disappears.
Yeah, and they didn't get what they wanted. I mean, disappearing, losing your legacy is one thing. That's a huge issue. But if you did have retirement plans, which most people do, those just
Mhm.
disappeared in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, you've built all this equity up. I would think it would be a good thing to get paid on it, right? And get that maximum amount of valuation out of it. But
Yep.
doing that, it sounds like it takes maybe, depending on how you're going to start the program doing with you, might take a while. What does that look like? How much time should they plan for?
They should plan for at least a year, and ideally 2 years before they want to sell to get things ready, because they're maybe hiring people, changing processes, things like that. And it's a methodical process because I'm not going to come in and say, okay, we're going to change everything about the business this month and then good luck. It's a 12-month process. It's very methodical. And it also recognizes that the owner probably already has a full-time job, if not a job and a half. So if I was going to add 6 hours a week to their life, that's not going to work. So
Right.
um, to do it methodically and intelligently and make sure we get results at each step down the road.
Very good. So 3 owner outcomes that you'll see here.
Examples, yeah.
Yeah, you can read those when you go to the link. And then, so yeah, find out where you stand. And
That's it.
And let's see if I can bring this back with just you and me in here. There we go.
There we go.
So where is that magic space that they go to, to find someone with your experience, your background? You've been doing this for how long?
26 years. I started in the year 2000, so I know that.
Yeah, I mean that's such a valuable thing today, and that's something that what AI is not going to replace that.
I don't think so. I mean,
No.
AI is great for creating efficiencies and stuff like that, but it's not going to replace that very quickly, if ever.
Yeah, because it's like that exchange is real human to human. You've got negotiations going on, and there's a lot of emotion, and there's
Yep.
dynamics that can change that valuation significantly depending on perceptions and
Well, and as you
decisions
addressed,
that are made.
you alluded to that there's a lot of hidden stuff that may not be obvious. So yeah, it has to be surfaced and discussed.
Yeah, well, I know that from my experience selling to in my selling experiences,
There you go.
even if the deals sometimes are small, there's always things that you need to understand in the human elements, because you're not just selling, going to up to the grocery store and buying a pound of whatever vegetables, you know. Um, but even at that level, you could haggle,
Yeah,
right? I mean, you could haggle a pound of apples with,
you might,
it's
you
possible.
might get chucked out of Kroger's if you do that, but sure.
Yeah, but so imagine haggling for a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah, well, that's due diligence.
Right. Yeah. So and the people that you're dealing with, the people that like come in and buy the company, probably have a lot of those deals under their belt, have done them a lot. So they see things that somebody who's never done it before wouldn't see.
Yeah, not always. I mean, there's often the business being transferred to a family member who may have not done before. But
Right.
I had a case where there were three children. The one child was involved in the business since the get go and was the logical successor when dad retired, and the other two weren't. But if that one child gets a business worth, say, $1 million, what did the other kids get? How do you make that fair? So the valuation of that and the whole process of that it's important to think about.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been out here for almost a half hour.
Yep.
So let's see what could we talk about next time.
Um, well, whatever you
I've
like.
got. I'm thinking. Here's one. When your hard work becomes your biggest liability, the owner dependence trap.
Yep. That's the
Yeah.
number
So
one.
join us next time. We'll dig into that topic, or maybe we'll find something else. But it'll be exciting. And if you're an owner of a company and you're thinking about who should be watching this episode, the next episode, Phil.
If you're a business owner, age 55 or older, you have to pay attention to this. That's it. It's that broad.
Yeah. So grab your free assessment, and then make a call with Phil. Take your 13 minutes, grab your financials, and find out what your business is worth, and then um, see have a conversation with Phil. See what would take to get you going, and whether or not it's for you right now.
Happy to do
But
so.
statistics show that it probably is.
Well, being aware is certainly something that no one ever regrets, right? Knowing
Yeah.
what your options are and what your business is approximately worth is very good data to have.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, let's say goodbye and thank you for the time. Hang on until afterwards, and we'll chat some more. So,
Thanks, Jim.
but I'm gonna close the show. We'll see you again next time.
You bet.